Hi and welcome to Edward's Leisure. I'm Anthony and today we're going to do a handover video for you on this Adria Altea Avon. Hope you find it informative. So as we take a look around the Avon, what you'll see is we've got a big locker at the front here, houses 2 of your gas bottles, and also if you wanted to as an optional extra you can have a spare wheel fitted just over there. As we make our way around, we've got exterior access to a cupboard just there, which is also underneath the bench seat inside. 2 fridge vents. We've got a stable type habitation door, which is quite handy, especially if you've got kiddies in there or maybe even a pet of some sort. Probably no good for a budgie though. Double glazed windows. Grab handles to help you manoeuvre if you're pushing it by hand. Now this is the other piece of access we have, and what you'll see is it's the bottom bunk, and what you can do is remove this, lift up the slats, lock it off on the end, and you've got a bit more storage there, which is good. Cassette toilet, which we'll go into a little bit later on. That's where you fill up your header tank. Flue for your boiler, battery box, where you'll pop your electric in. And this here is just where your water pump will go in. So moving on to your living space in the Avon. Now there's a couple of bits going on here. So first of all I'll show you the TV bracket and TV preparation, and you also have it again, just a TV prep just here if you want to watch 2 TVs in the same room. The next part is I'll show you what's underneath the bench seat. Now under this one over here, it's just free space, so you've got storage space and you can access it from inside or out, as previously seen in the first bit. But under this side, you'll see that we have your boiler, and then we have your fuses just here, which just locks off from there. So you'll see here the configuration of the bed makeup. I've already done it all. All we need to do now is just take it apart again. So it's fairly straightforward. First thing we'll do is get the big pieces, flip those around because the bolster is better off on the sides. Some people will, of course, use the other side, so you've got even wear across the seats. A little bit of jiggery pokery. You've also got a little table that's just here. It's ideal for putting your coffee and teas on. Supports itself just there. The other thing to show you is in here we've got a standalone table, so you can pop that up in the middle for when you're eating or playing games. Then we've got a big wardrobe that goes the full length, and a little bit of shelving space. TV aerial's also in here, and your Bluetooth media centre is just there, but we will go through that a little bit later on.
Now we're going to look at your kitchen equipment that you have in the Avon. So first of all we have these 2 cupboards up here, but of course with the one we have your microwave. Your microwave will only work if you're plugged into the mains on 230 volts, and your plug for that is just there. Again, very important, make sure these are clipped back down, especially when you're travelling. Then we have your gas hob. Now when it comes to your gas equipment, when you turn your gas on, either fully turn your gas on or fully turn your gas off when you're travelling. You don't want to try and regulate it yourself. That's when you'll end up causing yourself problems. So you turn your gas on fully, you have your 3 gas hobs, very clever design in the fact that it is slightly lower than your work surface. So So when you're cleaning down, it cleans off easily into your sink. Of course, we do have a chopping board just on top of the sink there as well. Here we have your gas oven and grill. Now, very important when you're using the grill, make sure you leave the door open, and also you have a heat shield just here. That's to stop it getting too hot and melting your dials. Do make sure when you're finished, you pop that back in. Very easy to catch your trousers on, and then you go through a pair of trousers. Underneath here, you will see we have your gas isolator switches. So here we have the gas isolator switches for your oven, for your hobs, and also just in there for the grill by the looks of things as well. But they are, actually you can see what they are on there, but it does give you good storage underneath as well. Cutlery drawer just here. Then we have more drawers and space further down, and again good storage area underneath there for pots and pans. Then we come to your three-way fridge freezer. So to turn this on, this button just here. Now if we want to change our source, press this button and keep your finger on it. Now you'll see it starts to flash. Now by using the left or right buttons, we can pick our source. Once we've picked our source, we then press the button again. Now it will go to our temperature. And by using these buttons, we can take the temperature colder or warmer as we wish. Press it again and that will set it into the system. So how to use your three-way fridge freezer? Well, this depends on your source. So for argument's sake, if you've got the van at home and you've got it plugged into the mains, you would run on electric. That's fine. But when you come to obviously set off, you're going to unplug your electric. Now at that point, we would assume you will be attached to your car. As long as the engine is turned on, that's when you use battery. A lot of people think battery means leisure battery. It doesn't. It means vehicle battery, so the engine must be running for that to happen. Then when you're traveling, it will run fine on the battery. Once you turn the ignition off on the car, of course, now we need another heat source. Now, if you're only stopping for a few minutes and it's not that hot, you haven't got to worry about it. But if it's a boiling hot day and you stop for a few hours, you probably want to pop your gas on. Put it onto gas, leave it on gas for a while. Again, before you set off, you must remember to turn your gas off, put it back to battery, away you go on the car. When you get to site, put it to electric, and then you've got no problems. Now, when we come back up, we do have an auto just here. Now, by putting it on auto, it should do all those things automatically for you. I say should, because there are always instances where, for argument's sake, it might not be great electric coming into the van, but you've got your gas on, so it might think gas is more efficient and it will go to the gas. This is why you always want to check. If it's doing something that you're not keen on, override it, put it to where you want to go. The other thing to bear in mind, of course, is when you're not using it, turn it off. And the other thing, of course, when you have been using your fridge freezer, if it's going to go into storage or anything, leave the door open slightly. It can, when it's been turned off, get very nasty in there. You can get mold and all of the sorts of nasty things growing in there unless you leave the door open and it lets the air circulate and cool down naturally. Next, we're going to talk about how you prime your water system and also drain it down. So the first thing with most caravans, not all, because you will find some that do hold their own fresh water, but with the vast majority, you would need an aqua roll. Haven't got one here at the moment, but I can explain to you how it works. You take your aqua roll, you fill it with water, you roll that back to the van. Then you need your water pump. One end goes into the end of the aqua roll, and the other end locks in just here on your van, and that will then pump the water through into the system. So once we've got that plugged in and it's in our aqua roll, the next thing we need to do is go into the van itself. So what we need to do is make sure that our water doesn't just pour out all over the floor when we start pumping it. So we need to go first and foremost to our boiler, which is situated in the lounge. So just here, you'll see we have our boiler. And here we have our boiler drain. Now, also just there is our second drain. Now, as you can see at the moment, it's down, which means that it's closed. Now this one, I don't know if you can see very well, but the little button on the edge there is open. Now what that means is that the boiler's open. If we turn that a quarter turn, and pop it in, it now locks in. Now that means the boiler is sealed. This has got what we call a continental boiler, so if the temperature gets down to 2 degrees or below, it will automatically dump any water that's in the boiler. That will turn a quarter turn, a little button will pop out, and that will drain the system down. We want that sealed because we want to put water in, and we want that little switch down as it is now. Like I say, if you're draining, just flick that one up. So the next thing that we would need to do would be to open up our taps on hot, in here, also in the bathroom. Once we've done that, we then have a switch just here for your pump, and you're going to flick that on. Now what's then going to happen is it's going to transfer the water from your aqua roll through your boiler and out through your taps. Now to start off with, it's going to cough and splutter at you for a couple of minutes, as what it's actually doing is it's expelling the air from the system. This is why you want it on hot, because you want to expel the air from your boiler. Once it starts running out smoothly, then you can knock your taps off. But while the pump's going, it'll make a noise, a bit of a brrr noise as it's going through. Wait for that to finish, because that's now filling up your boiler. Once your boiler is full, you can then heat the water. Now we'll go into the heating controls in more detail in a moment. When we then come to drain our system down, it works pretty much in reverse. So again, we would go back to the boiler, we would flick up the little grey switch, we'd also turn the quarter turn the blue switch to make the little blue button pop out. That's going to drain down the water in your boiler. Now I would usually say don't have your taps on and your water pump on if you've got no water in your system. But just for a few seconds, leave your water pump on when you've got no water in your aqua roll, because you just want to suck any water out the pipes and get that out. Now if we come back out of the van, I've set up a waste master. And your waste master is just here. Now there are 2 outlets that this pipe sticks into, and that is going to take your wastewater from your bathroom and from your kitchen. It's soapy water. That then drains down into your waste master, and your waste master, again, you would then take that to a drain on site and you would drain down from there. We're now going to look at your heating system, which is a Truma blown air system. Now the first thing that we need to do is your heating itself doesn't need water in, but obviously if you're going to heat the water, you do need to make sure that you've done that. Now we've previously talked about obviously your boiler underneath, and that must be sealed and you must have water already in. Then we come up here. So your Truma system, you press on there and you have these 4 icons at the top. Now the first one we want to go to is number 3. If we pop on there, that will give us our heat source. So we have gas, mix 1, mix 2, electric 1 or electric 2. Gas quite obviously just runs on gas. Mix 1 will be gas and 1 electric element, mix 2 is gas and 2 electric elements. If we go to electric, again you have 1 electric element or 2 electric elements. Now the argument, and rightly so, would be, well, if I put it on 2 electric elements, obviously that's better, I'm going to heat up quicker, and that's very true. But you may be on a site that doesn't produce a great amount of electric, in which case it will trip your system out if you try to pull in too much power. We'll come to your trip switches in a moment. But again, if it is very cold, it's good to have it on a mix, because you'll tend to find that gas tends to be a little bit more efficient than electric anyway, so it'll get you to heat quicker, and as long as you're plugged into the mains. And then of course you can turn your electric just onto that afterwards, and you can turn your gas off. It's not really an issue. But what we want to do first of all is pick our heat source. So because we're in the showroom, we'll pop that onto electric 2. Then we need to come back to the first icon, because the first icon will give us our temperature, and we can have that at whatever temperature we want. So let's say we want 15 degrees. You will see the thermostat is just over here. So now we've set our temp. If we now go to the 4th icon, that will give us eco or high, and that's just how much air it pushes out of the system. Now if we come back and turn the heating off, and now go back to our fan icon, we will now have a different option of off or vent. If we press on vent, that will go up to number 10. Basically all that means is that we can circulate the air around the van without having to have the heating on. Now presuming that we've filled our boiler full of water, because again you must have your boiler filled with water before you can heat the water, you will go to the 2nd icon, and on there you have a choice of off Eco, which is 40 degrees, Hot, which is 60, or Boost. So again, if somebody's just had a shower, somebody's going to have one not long after, that's where you will set that from with the Boost. Then we come down to our bottom icons. So the first one is our timer. So again, if you get up at say 7 o'clock in the morning, you want to set your heating to come on at 6, you'd set that from there. Then we have our clock, and to adjust your clock, you just scroll around and press once you've got the right time. Then we come to our settings. So the first one is you can offset the screen and move the writing in left or right directions. I've never had an issue with that, and why you'd want to do it, I couldn't really tell you. Temperature from degrees to Fahrenheit, brightness of your panel, 12 or 24-hour clock. If it's all a little bit too simple, you want to do it in French, German or Italian, you can change your language. Index I'll come back to in a second. Sometimes you can pick up a glitch in your system. If you hit reset, it will take it back to factory settings. So, index. If there's an issue with our system, or if we've done something wrong, you'll have a warning triangle come up just here. If you click onto that warning triangle, it will give you a code. That code will then be stored in the index. Now, more often than not, it'll be that you've put it on for gas, but you haven't turned your gas on yet. Or you've put it on for electric and you've not plugged into the mains. But if it is something, there's a fault with the system, you can then get in touch with a Truma technician, give them those codes, and they may well be able to tell you what's going on with your system before you've even taken it in. So again, it is a really good little thing to have. Something to remember, if you've done it something by accident and you've put your gas on but you haven't actually turned it on, when this warning triangle comes up, it does usually take about 15 minutes before it will allow you to reset the system.
Okay, so moving on to your cassette toilet. Now the Avon does have a header tank. All you'll do is simply pop your hose into there, and that's where you'll fill up. This is where you'll also add your pink. Now normally on the bottle it'll tell you how much pink you'll need to how much water you're popping in. Just here we actually have the cassette toilet itself. Fairly straightforward. All you need to do is unclip from the bottom. Now you do need to have your back blade closed inside to be able to pull that out, and I'll show you that just after we've done this. So you can wheel it through like you're going through Birmingham Airport, or any other airport for that matter, for when you're going to the Howson point. So the way it works, this hasn't got the cap on because it hasn't been PDI'd yet, but what you'll do is unscrew your cap. When you're starting to pour, press this little orange button at the back. That saves it from getting blocked up. It lets the air flow through, makes life a lot easier and a lot cleaner. Once you've emptied it out, stick a hose in, swill it around, give it another little empty out, and then pop your cap back on. But before you stick your cap back on, I nearly forgot, what you'll do is you'll measure out your blue chemical that will go into here. Don't put it straight down to the toilet because it will stain. If you put it straight into the cassette first with a little bit of water, it's job done. Normally on the cap itself there is a little measure on the inside that will tell you how much to put in. Once you're finished with that, all we need to do, simply slide that back into place, lock it off just there, and I'll just go and show you your actual toilet inside. So, I was on about your blade needing to be closed. As you'll see, it is just there. Just down the bottom here, there is a little grey handle that you can adjust, so that is open. It's only really worth opening that when you're actually using the toilet. Otherwise, keep it closed, it keeps any bad smells away. This is where you'll flush your system. Make sure you've got your water pump on when you do flush, and then this here will light up when your cassette toilet is full. And that's your cassette toilet. Okay, so why it's important to level your Caravan? Well, there's two real reasons, to be honest. One is you don't want to fall out of bed, because that'll hurt. The second one is potentially your fridge might not work if it's out of kilter. So what you'll do to start off with, you've got 4 legs that are on each corner. You'll use this, before you wind those down, you'll use this to actually get the level. Just use a little spirit level or something just inside, pop it in, and you'll see if your Caravan's at the right angle. And then you can use this to adjust the height off the axle of your Caravan front or rear. Once you're happy with that, cop hold of this, pop it onto the nut available, and then you can wind your legs accordingly to make sure you've got the best level for your Caravan. blinds, fly screens and windows. So we have a fly screen, a blind, and we have these pretty much on every window. You've got fly screen, blind. Windows, you've got little buttons that are actually on the join, and all you need to do is push it until it clicks, and it'll go and stay there, and then once you're ready, push it all the way open, bring it back in and close it off. Now what you'll see, if you look at these, I will just open these back up, you can actually have it almost like an event, I suppose, where you can actually lock it off just there. And then you do have, just above this young man here, we also have another skylight with a fly screen and a blind. It's worth noting to, if you can, to keep fly screens and blinds open when not in use. A lot of people do it because of security, and that's understandable, but what you will find is that you will lose the integrity of the blind if you happen to leave them open.
So now we're going to look at some of the media within the van. So when we look in your wardrobe in your front room, you'll see we have your TV aerial, and we also have your TV aerial booster. Now at the moment there's an orange light on that, and that's because it works like on a traffic signal. If we pop our aerial up in the air, so you'd unscrew from here, unscrew from there, slide it up, you've got a little handle at the bottom, and that's so you can change the pitch. That will then change your booster. So again, it'll either be red if you've got no signal at all, orange if you've got a little bit of a signal, or green if you've got a very good signal. Rule of thumb really is see where everybody else's aerial is pointing and point yours in the same direction. There's also a little dial on there, and that's for minimum or maximum boost. So if you're very, very close to an antenna, you may need to drop that down, as otherwise you can have too strong a signal. While we're in this area, we will look underneath as well, because just down here we have your trip switches. Now again, as we were talking about with the heating earlier, if you've actually tried to go too powerful and it trips the system out, no different to in the house, that's where you'd reset. The next thing we've got in here, of course, is your media controller. Now, underneath the media controller, there's a little black switch, and that's to turn the power on or off. Once you've got it set, it literally just works as a link between your phone and the speakers. So, I've already set this up, but if we go into my phone, you'll go into your Bluetooth settings, pick Adria once it comes up, and then just press play on your music. And again, you've got the volume control on there, and you have got the speakers running through. Great little sound system. The rear of the Avon is a really interesting place because you've got these 3 bunks. Now, underneath the top bunk, you'll see you've got your ladder just there, which again, you just attach on. Now, these top 2 bunks will take a maximum of 70 kilos in weight. You do have a window there, hence the reason why you've got the netting. Bottom bunk, if we take the mattress off, you can pop that up onto there for now. We can actually lock this base up. There's an attachment just there to lock onto, and at the back, and then this can become a storage or a garage area. So again, it maximizes your space. Very clever. Also, if the kids are in bed, you can take this blind and bring it across. Now, there is another blind as well in the front, so you can shut off the front area. Pop that back in. Also, in the rear here, we have, again, a good sized wardrobe and storage facility. Again, you've got the 2 shelves at the bottom just there as well. Now, we also have our cupboard space up at the top. And of course, with all the lights in here, we can unattach, take them out and take them to somewhere else and lock them in. Or again, you can move them around. When you've got them where you want them, just slide it back in, clip it, and again, they come straight back on. Now, we also have this dinette area for 2 people. This can also be made up into another single bed. And how you do that is you unclip from the wall. This leg just here, there's a button. You press, and that then folds it in half. This then drops down onto the base. So to do that, I'm just going to pop this cushion up out the way. You will see again you've got storage underneath these two seats as well. And that will just slide onto there. And there. There we go. So that's locked into place. Now, very much like with the front, bolsters are higher on this one end. So you want to spin that round so it goes to the far end. Same on this side as well. Just pop that out of the way for a second. Backrests will just drop in. That pops into there. That drops there, and again that's where you have your 6th berth.
Okay, so we haven't really got much of a 12-volt control panel as such, but what we do have is just various sort of buttons and a dial. So what we do have here is how much voltage is coming into the van, so you'll be able to see when you're doing your heating what electric element you might be able to use, whether it's 2 or 1 depending on the voltage coming into the van. Main lights, and then you also have light switches just down here. So for all of these to work, you do need to press this button here, which is master. It is on at the moment. I've just turned it off. Hit that on, it will fire everything up, and that's really where you'll go from starting it all off. Okay, so hitching your caravan to your car, or in this case a van, same difference. So just as a sort of brief rundown, this here is just a hitch steady. This is your actual hitch, so that will be what is attached to the tow ball itself. Handbrake, jockey wheel winder, and then this here is how you actually keep your jockey wheel in place. We also have this, which helps stay on the back should you fail anything around this area. Hopefully this will keep the van with you as opposed to going off in a different direction. So when we're going to put it onto the back of the car, what we need to do is obviously get it somewhere roughly over the tow ball. Now in this case I am going to release the handbrake because it does need to come forward a touch. Once you're there, as you'll see that I've lifted this up, some lock into this position, some might just fall back down, but you just need to be a bit sort of generous with it. Then start to wind it down over the tow ball. And in a moment that'll snap down just like so. Once you get there, put your hitch stabiliser down, and you'll notice that this button here, it's red on top but green at the bottom. The green part should pop up, which would mean it's connected. But the best thing to do, just to stay safe, wind back up, and the back of the van or car will come up with it, which it's done just there. Then with your jockey wheel, what you want to do is wind it as far as it will go, and you'll see a groove just there. That part should slide into that. That means the jockey wheel won't move around. Once you've finished doing that, your jockey wheel stay, which is this handle here, pull right up as far as you can to the top, making sure that the jockey wheel's at the back. Tighten it up. Once you're happy, pop this around here. Anywhere that you can attach it on underneath the car will suffice. So we've just worked out how to actually attach the thing onto the back of the car or van. Once you've done that, you've got electrics, okay? So all you need to do, make sure there's a little bit of slack, but not too much. You don't want it dragging on the floor, and you also don't want too little slack so that when you are turning or anything like that, that it's straining on the actual connection itself. Once you're there, you've got a cap on your electrics. Once you're there, push that into place, and then you should be able to just twist this round, and your cap will sit level with that. That's it. All you need to do is just the standard checks between you and somebody else. You could do some of it yourself, but maybe brakes obviously you might not be able to test on your own, but make sure all the lights are working and it is doing what it should do. Now it's time for us to go on our travels. Thanks for watching.